Hello chess friends and welcome to your out of chess channel and welcome back to the computer Blitz chess championship in 2024 that you can follow now on chess.com. Before we start to analyze some games from the super event, I wanted to tell you very important news. It's a little bit sad, but I have to say the Torch Chess Engine project has been shut down, so this is now probably the last tournament that Torch will play in the computer Blitz chess championship, some other computer chess championships, but also in some other TCEC competitions. I'm a little bit sad because Torch has proved itself really as the second best chess engine in the world, basically in every of these competitions, like in the Rapid, Blitz, Bullet championships. Torch was always on the second place, in front of Lila C0, in front of the Dragon project, in front of other top AIs that we used to see in some in this computer chess world. And probably this Torch project has been shut down because of some under budget problems. I found this link to this news on the official talkchess.com website. Here you can see the text. I will of course also send you the link to this news in the description below, so you can check it out. You can maybe read it for yourself. As I said, I'm a little bit sad because also in this computer Blitz chess championship that we're following now, Torch was in the lead in front of Stockfish for a long time, which was really crazy. I published also a video about that in our last video. So I really thought that we could finally have a certain competition in this computer chess world. I really love this AI chess games. You probably know, if you have followed my chess channel, that I basically covered these beautiful chess games. What I always missed a little bit is a certain competition where we have maybe once Torch winning in a competition, then Stockfish is winning, maybe Lila is winning. So I miss really this competition. I was really happy when Torch took over, because then we could have really sort of a rivalry between also AI developers. So it was really crazy. But now Torch has been shut down. I'm a little bit sad. I wasn't really familiar with this news. Someone wrote also in the comment section below on our previous video that the Torch engine has been shut down. I really didn't know about this info. I'm sorry also about that, because I haven't really followed the Torch engine really like in a proper way. But now it's over, and probably it means that it will be simply pure domination by Stockfish 16 and also by the other versions that will follow up, of course, by the beautiful Stockfish chess engine. So we're starting now with a beautiful game played by Stockfish and Torch from this computer Blitz chess championship in 2024. So far the result is 7.5 points for Stockfish, more than the Torch chess engine, but Torch has played now 2 games less than Stockfish, which means that maybe in an optimal continuation, Torch could be, I don't know, gaining 1.5 points, 2 points, but still it's a pure domination now by Stockfish. Stockfish is taking the lead and will probably also win a new computer chess championship. So let's see now this game, Stockfish versus Torch, in a beautiful Schlechter variation of the Slav defense. With the white pieces, the fish opened with the move d4. Torch response was d5, c4, c6 the Slav, knight to f3, knight to f6, and after knight to c3 we have now reached the 3-knight variation of the Slav defense. We have now the Schlechter variation with the move g6, and now bishop to f4 is, in my opinion, one of the best ways here to proceed, because with the move bishop to f4 and a potential bishop to g7, you can always compete against this bishop by playing a beautiful maneuver with the move bishop to e5. You can have really great competition against this powerful bishop that black is trying to develop on g7. What should black do now? If you try here d takes c4 to immediately take, it is actually one of the best lines that black should play here. Then after something like e3, you can maybe try, I don't know, knight to d5. I've seen many times has been played in human chess level. But now we continue with this idea that we have talked about. Bishop to e5, maybe black can try f6, but now we pick up this one, and now after bishop to c4, there are certain likes or problems that black has to take care of in the next couple of moves. So I see only 2 winning games in this particular line, so that's why also very risky maybe to take out the pawn immediately. So after bishop to f4, we have bishop to g7 by the Torch chess engine. Stockfish continues now with e3, castling, and now after bishop to e2, we have now the last move that has been prearranged by the organizer. We have now the move knight to e4. From this point on, the engines are calculating the position for themselves. Stockfish continues now with rook to c1. Protect simply the knight, doesn't want to maybe mess up also the structure here around the square. c3 says, okay, if you want to take the knight, then my rook is coming in a beautiful way into the game. We have now knight to d7, we have c takes d5, c takes d5, and after queen to b3, now Torch has some problems around the square d5. That's why knight to f6, connecting now the knight to the pawn, kingside castling, queen to b6, and now queen to a3. Very important move here by Stockfish, not to trade off the queens, going simply for the e7 weakness. Of course, if you take the pawn immediately, then you could have also some problems around the square b2, but you see now how Stockfish will manage to handle everything in a really beautiful tactical way. After knight to c3, that Torch played, Stockfish continues now again with the rook to c3, is of course also threatening to get the rook on the 7th rank, but also is threatening to attack the queen further here with the move rook to b3, knight to e4 by Torch. Stockfish continues now with this idea, rook to b3. The rook, we have to say, it is a little bit misplaced here, but I think the compensation that Stockfish gets here is a beautiful, again, piece activity with rook to c1. Now this other rook is getting in a beautiful way into the game, and basically Torch has now a tough time to compete against this rook on the c file. So again, e7 very weak. Rooks could come into the game. There are certain possibilities. Knight to e5, bishop to e5. This bishop is good anyway. So from this point on, I think the game is really tough to handle here for the Torch chess engine. b6 by Torch, trying to develop, of course, the light square bishop, but of course, if you develop it early, then the b7 pawn could be very weak. So that's why b6. We have now h3, bishop to f5, and now bishop to d3. Stockfish competes simply against this light square bishop on f5. If you try here knight to d6 to maybe force a trades of pieces, white doesn't have to take out the bishop on f5, can play simply bishop to d6. And if you play now, of course, e takes d6, then you have a messed up pawn structure. If you try here bishop to d3, then we have this in between bishop takes e7, and black is losing the exchange. So that's why after bishop to d3, rook from f to c8, Stockfish takes. Torch has to take out now again with the bishop, because if you take with the rook, then you could lose the pawn on a7. So after bishop to c8, let's see, Stockfish played a couple of trades of pieces, managed to stay active here, but the issue for black is that the bishop is basically on the starting square. This rook is also on the starting square, so black is lacking here really in development. Black is lacking also here in piece activity. We have now bishop to e5, the move that we have talked about, simple competition against this bishop on g7. Queen to e6, we have bishop takes, king takes, and now bishop to e4. Good move here by the fish, playing a certain sort of bad bishop strategy where the bishop doesn't have really a great activity. Even if you take here with the queen, it's not so easy to defend this position for black, because after knight to g5, you're trying maybe queen to b1, we play king to h2, you're trying to do something like h6, then after knight to f3, you're trying maybe fix the structure with the move e6. But you see now, after something like knight to e5, black is losing simply the game on the c file, because after queen to f5, you're trying to get the queen somehow into the game, then rook to c3, and then rook to c7. The queen will come and you will get destroyed here around the square f7. Look how many pawns are on light squares, and you have a light square bishop on the board. Really a messy position for this bishop. This is really a bad bishop strategy that white could apply. You're trying maybe queen to f2, but then as I said, you're simply getting destroyed on the 7th rank. Of course, white and black don't have to play this game like this, but I wanted to show you in a really probably situation here that black will not have, I think, a fun game if here, for instance, queen to e4 would have been played by the Torch chess engine. So that's why after bishop to e4, d takes e4, we have now double pawn structure. Now knight to g5 again hits the queen, hits also the pawn. Very tough position to defend. That's why here queen to d7, and Stockfish grab the pawn with the move knight to e4. And what should black do now? Of course, finally this bishop is coming into the game, but it's a little bit slow. Stockfish retreats, but also keeps his options with d5 and e4, trying to get this mobile pawn structure. White is up a pawn, nothing spectacular, of course, but in this top engine level, this means almost that white has, I think, really a great chance to win the game. We have now the move h5 by torch, rook to b4, we have e6, and now queen to a4. Simple idea, trying to trade off the queen, simplify the game, going into a fully endgame stage with up a pawn. So that's why bishop to c6, queen to d1, rook to b8, queen to d2, we have now a5, and now rook to c4. If you attack it, of course, this rook will simply, again, give up the knight for a bishop, trade it off, and again, have here a +1 pawn situation for white. So we have now king to g8, queen to c2, again, battling for the c file that we have talked about. Many problems black had already on the c file. We have queen to c2, queen to b7, hitting the pawn, but now, of course, f3 here by the fish, protecting everything and also preparing e4, if necessary, maybe even the move d5. We have bishop to d5, hitting the rook, knight takes d5, queen to d5, but now simple b3 keeps everything glued together, everything compact, and we have now reached really a nice endgame here for white with an upper pawn, but many of us would, I think, even mess this up. I myself probably too. There are many ideas, I think, now in this endgames that you see that are very important, applied here by Stockfish. Of course, it's a good endgame, but sometimes very tough to win because your king is also exposed. Black has also still the queen and the rook on the game, so many checks you could get here from white's perspective. So after b3, rook to d8, we have queen to e4. Again, the fish is trying to simplify the game by trading off more pieces. Queen to g5, king to f2, and now h4, simply kicking away the queen from this active square on g5. Queen to d8, king gets closer, we have queen to d7, and now queen to f4, preparing now to move rook to c7. That's why rook to d6, we have king to f2, queen to d8, and now queen to g5, again with the same idea, trading off more pieces, going into the fully endgame stage. Queen comes here on d7, and now g4. A very important move here by the Stockfish engine, trying somehow to split the pawn chain here in front of black's king to try to do something here also on the g file. So that's why h takes g, f takes g, rook to d5, attacking the queen, but now the queen drops back again on a very active square on the square f4. Queen to d8, attacking this pawn. We have king to g3, king to g7. Even if you try here, maybe rook to d7 to somehow compete on the 7th rank, then queen to e5. You see, again, white will find a game to centralize the queen. You're trying maybe to do something like this, rook to c6, then this one is weak. So again, very messy game here for black for sure. So that's why for king to g3, king to g7 here by the torch as engine, rook to c7. Again, Stockfish gets the rook on the 7th rank, rook to d7, and now of course rook takes d7. Stockfish is saying, I can trade off every piece of the board. It doesn't matter because I have simply one pawn more, and of course this should be then completely winning in only maybe a king and pawn chess endgame. So that's why after rook to d7, king to d7, h5, again Stockfish wants to get rid of this defenders of the king here, of this pawns on g6 especially. Here we have g takes h5, and now after queen to e7, now simple a4, keeping everything compact here. On the queen side, we have queen to d8, queen to e4, queen comes here, we have queen to e5, a check, f6, but now again, queen to e4 with the threat to play queen to g6, so that's why queen to c7 first a check, and now queen to f7, trying of course to hold the position around the square g6. We have king to h4, king to h6, queen delivers a check, torch drops back, again a check, and now again we have a repetition of moves, king to g7, but now finally Stockfish changes where to check here, plays now queen to g4. We have king to h7, and now e4. This is a very important move because with this move, Stockfish is trying to stretch black's defense, is trying to create a pass pawn in the center of the board, but also with this pass pawn on the edge of the board, Stockfish would then simply create a messy situation for black, where black would be vulnerable on both sides, so in the center but also on the king side. So that's why e4, very important move here by Stockfish. We have f5, we have queen to f4, pinning now the queen, because if you take, you lose the queen. That's why queen to e7, we have queen to g5. You cannot take the queen, because if you do that, then white can still catch up with this pawn in this potential sequence. This pawn will be lost, and this pawn is marching, and game over again here for black. So that's why for queen to g5, queen drops back to d6, and now queen to g3. Again, a good move here by the fish, trying to simplify the game by trading off the queens. The problem for black is here that you actually cannot take the pawn on d4. Great endgame tactic here by the fish, because you get a check, then a new check, and then you get this one, queen to e6. Stockfish calculated everything in a good way. Here we have a check, and then you lose also this pawn with this situation where white has two passers. Game over, of course, here for black. So after queen to g3, queen to d8 check. Again, Stockfish is trying to cover. We have now queen to d6, king to h3, and now finally f takes e4. But it doesn't matter. Stockfish can, of course, get this pawn with this sequence, queen to g6, and then queen to e4. Queen drops back to f8. We have queen to e5 check, and now Stockfish grabbed another pawn. I think this is now completely winning endgame here for white. Queen to f3 by torch, it doesn't matter. Here the Stockfish is simply going with the king towards the queen side. Now the main strategic goal for white is to somehow get this king here wherever you like, wherever the position is allowing you, going simply for this pawn, for the weak pawn on b6, because the queen on e6 is protecting this one. Maybe torch can grab even these two pawns, but Stockfish will simply go for the b6 pawn, and the king is then, of course, far away from the action. So that's now, I think, the most important endgame idea, how to win this game here for white. Queen to d2 check. Stockfish march simply towards the queen side as promised. Queen to c5, and now Stockfish again gets the king closer to the pawn on b6. We have queen to f8, king to c7, queen delivers a check, and now queen to b7. Stockfish is not rushing so far to take the pawn, because there are certain also stalemate ideas. I'll explain you a beautiful stalemate idea that torch could prepare here to somehow make a draw in this obviously losing game here for black. So after king to b7, we have now the move b5, queen to g6 check. Now Stockfish plays h6, is trying, of course, to deliver checkmate, but as I said, there are certain stalemate problems that white could have here, because after queen to f3, king to b6, we have queen to f2 check. And you see now, if you take, for instance, the pawn on b5 here, then you get this one, queen to c5. You could get this position where we simply sacrifice the queen, and if you take, it's of course a draw, because black doesn't have legal moves here. So very crazy position. So that's why Stockfish is not rushing again, plays a calm king to a6, queen to f8 check. It's not a check, sorry. We have queen to g7, and now Stockfish simply trades off everything, takes out now this pawn, and this is now obviously completely winning. Stockfish promotes here to queen, gets also another queen on the board, and black is obviously lost after a couple more moves, and queen to f4. It was game over here for the torch chess engine. So okay, what to say? Very interesting ideas in the Schlachter variation of the Slav defense. I really like this c-file attack. Very important, I would say. Trying to occupy the 7th rank. Torch in the beginning lost the battle. On the c-file, also on the 7th rank. We have to mention Stockfish played a draw in the reverse game. So in this pairings of the same opening that they had to play, Stockfish won their match, which is, I think, a very important thing to say, that Stockfish managed somehow to defend this prearranged opening by the organizer. And as I mentioned, Stockfish is now in the lead of the Computer Blitz Chess Championship in 2024. So let's repeat again. Torch engine project has been shut down. I'm really sad about that, because Torch really improved itself over the year. So the Torch engine project is only 1 year there. So it's a short period in which they managed to get it on the 2nd place. If they would have continued, I think we would have really beautiful competition in this computer chess world. So as I said, I'm a little bit sad about that, but we'll see. Maybe Lila C0 can improve. Also, what's worth to mention, that the Berserk chess engine, which was usually, I don't know, on the 6th, 7th place, is now the 3rd force in the computer chess world. It's now on the 3rd place in this competition. So maybe there could be some improvements of the Berserk chess engine. So we'll see what will happen. But so far, of course, the Stockfish engine is still the most powerful chess engine in the world. Okay, if you want to see some other beautiful AI chess games like this, check out our Come to Chess Games Play Black Computers here on my YouTube chess channel. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.